Democratic Alliance is currently holding its provincial congress out in Durban, and Mmusi Maimane is currently on the podium there addressing the members. Let's listen into what he's saying.
That just 2 years ago, many people thought the DA would never, you'll never break out of the Western Cape. They said, no, you'll always hit the ceiling. No, they say those things. Manje sababonisa ukuthi today, what seems like it was impossible began a journey where today we want governments in Johannesburg, in Tshwane, in Nelson Mandela Bay, a 2/3 majority in Cape Town, and we are certainly the only party that is growing across South Africans of all walks of life, black and white, in South Africa. This is the DA that we are. Amandla! And I want to say that actually where we govern, we also govern in coalitions. As you know here, you have co-governance agreements in rural communities. And I want to say why coalitions are important. South Africa is a nation of coalitions. We come from a history of deep divisions, where others were confined to rural communities and others on the track towards prosperity, where others were just seen as labor and others as employers. And therefore, naturally, it can be easy sometimes when somebody sets up a political party to say, we represent this race, we represent that class. That's not the DA. The DA is a party for all South Africans, and that's why it's important that we bring together tribes, we bring together people, because what unites us is our defense of the Constitution, our values, and our vision for a South Africa for all. Amandla. And that is why we must work with everybody to bring common ground and common values. Coalitions are in and of themselves not easy, but they form part of our history. And that's why I want to thank all the other parties that are working hard to say in coalition we can in fact govern for the people, not for self-benefit. And this is the future of South Africa. The future of South Africa is about coalitions where in fact we can bring that other organization that has multiple heads down so that we can govern for all the people of this country. Amandla. This is our compact. There are some who equally so want to go and regress us to a past. They want to take us backwards. They go back to a time where the politics of our country were simply a threat of violence, killing one race, and in fact wanting to blame and remove another race. Democrats, also we will not tolerate anybody in our country, in any society, who seeks to mobilize, to remove, to threaten genocide against any race. This is not the South Africa we want. We want the South Africa for all. And let me remind you, there are times it can feel inconvenient. In fact, it can feel unpopular. But let me instruct you, or in fact tell you directly as leader of the DA, when it comes to the issue of racism, I will not tolerate it. It does not matter umang, uchagokai, utsoti. The fact of the matter is, Sisonke in South Africa, we stand united. Amandla. Ons moet saamwerk. Funeka sebenze sonke. Ongafuni abantu bala eMzantsi Afrika ukuthi basebenze bonke. Ngizobatshela nabo ukuthi hayi asivumelani ngalento yenza. We must show people that in fact what many consider to be impossible They become cynical or critical about the idea that black people and white people, colored people, Indian South Africans from all walks of life can work together in a multiracial, multi-ethnic party of government, not based on cynicism. I want to remind them that for us, we are the only party focused on the future. And the future of South Africa is not about eradicating one race over another, as if the freedoms of another are locked up in the removal of another race. The future of South Africa is where we can all prosper together, all work together. This is the South Africa the DA wants to build. And if you are not a part of that, the doors are clearly marked. Ngicela uphume ngapha. Today it starts with one race, tomorrow it's a tribe, tomorrow it's a gender, tomorrow it's a religion. Hey, we will remain together because we are better together. But Democrats, I want to say this to you. As much as I can indicate some of the successes we've had as the DA, I think we should never forget that in politics you are only as strong as your last election results. And you are often at your weakest after your greatest victory. And as I look out on stage, 18 months after the triumphant August 2016 elections, the view ahead is actually filled with danger and risk. The political playing fields have changed. And that's why today we can no longer satisfy ourselves by merely talking about one man from this province in Nkandla who has hurt our country this past decade and who gave us an easy target to aim for. Yabona, re batla phetogo, you know go ka si ba re kona that time wa vaya. Which means loya babu ya hamba. And I want to say this to you, that time has come and gone. South Africans are looking to us and are asking us much more. And if you don't mind today, I want to speak to you about what makes us who we are and where are we going. Because it's absolutely crucial that as a party, we must learn the painful lessons of a fast-growing organization. Our focus has been at times diverted from our core goal by navel-gazing, divisions, and jockeying for positions. That's why I want to say to you, whoever you elect as leader and whoever you elect as chairperson and all the other leadership positions that you will elect, those people are not the leaders of a faction, they're not the leaders of a race, they are the leaders of KZN, and you have a duty to get behind them. I see many, when I came in here, came in with t-shirts saying this is that and that is that. But at the end of this Congress, you can use that particular t-shirt as a pajama. After this Congress, the only t-shirt that you must wear is a t-shirt that says DA, and it's a t-shirt that rather says, in fact, more than anything, we play for the team, for the name that is in the front of that shirt, which is the Democratic Alliance. You are not a member of a member. The last time I checked, you are not a member of a DA, you are the member of the Democratic Alliance, and therefore you will work and serve the Democratic Alliance. Amandla! Democrats, I want to say this, that many of us can be tempted by the pursuit of power, for power itself. Whether it's leadership, whether it's electoral office. But let me say this, that the change we want to see in South Africa it's not a change just from black, green, and gold to blue and things remain the same. That's not the change I want. If that is the change you are looking for, then I must be honest with you, voters are left with no choice. What voters want is to say what black, green, and gold stands for, which is the idea of nationalism, the ideas of patronage, the ideas of looking after those who are connected to their organizations. Voters must know that when they vote for blue, they vote for the ideals of non-racialism, of the defense of constitution, where South Africans can stand together. That is the change we are looking for. So don't seek out just black, green, and gold to blue. Blue means something of a total change, a radical change, a new beginning for South Africa. That is the blue we are looking for. And I want to say to you that we've even confronted the ugly and the uncomfortable truth that not every DA government will always live up to the standard we set for ourselves. Some will say, as the Apostle Paul once wrote, some will fall short of glory. But then, you must not sit back and say you tolerate that. You see, it doesn't matter who you are in the DA, what level of office you hold, we will hold you to account no matter what. And so as these clouds are gathering ahead in the next 18 months, we face a choice. We face a choice as the Democratic Alliance. We can allow ourselves to be consumed by divisions and fighting, or we can be consumed by the voices of the cynics and the critics who write us off glibly as they've always done before. Or we can, in fact, Democrats, prove to ourselves and to the nation who we really are, who we are fighting for. We can grow and be the real alternative government, or we can give our critics the satisfaction that we can sink into oblivion. Either we will be tempered by the fire, or we can be burned by it. That's the choice we face. I know what choice I'll take. I know what choice I'd like you to take. And I will tell you what that choice is. Because now more than ever, we are the Democratic Alliance. And so to the critics and to the cynics, I say to you, watch us and watch us prove you wrong once again. Democrats, if we navigate the storms ahead, we must be firmly anchored into our values and our principle and our vision for South Africa. With that anchor, we can boldly go out and face any storm and know that we will come out on the other side more resilient and more committed than ever before to our mission. I love this time in South Africa. Because like you, I am ready for the fight. Let them bring on anything, whatever, whoever leads it, whoever brings it, let them bring it on, because if the DA does not succeed, South Africa will not succeed. This is the DA that will in fact fight for a South Africa for all. And therefore I want to say this to you, every single one of us, we must be committed to this country. We must love this country. We must love and cherish the Constitution of the Republic, whose values and vision was nurtured by our political ancestors. We believe that South Africa belongs to all who live in it, united in our diversity. Not just words on a page, but as values that we live by. Fellow South Africans, fellow Democrats, I want to say this to you. We believe South Africa can emerge from the ashes of apartheid as a strong, united, and a prosperous people. Our nation with one future. We know that our cause is right. And I will say this, that so long as I lead the DA, I will commit myself to saying I will put whatever it takes. I will lay my life for the ideal that simply says that if South Africa does not graduate from one racial nationalism to a society upon which the liberties of individuals are protected as the DA sees it, it will be doomed to a revolving cycle of racial nationalism. We are not here to replace one nationalism for another. That's not what we're here for. I am a husband and I have 2 kids. We are a South Africa where we are mixed. But I don't ever want to live in a country where my kids or your kids will be judged, as Martin Luther King said, by the color of their skins. It's why I feel so deeply passionate that this South Africa that we must build ought to be a South Africa whether you are Zulu, Xhosa, black, white, Indian, color. Your rights are protected as an individual. That is the struggle that we are fighting for. So that one day we can stand up together and say, in our diversity we are united, and we can stand and say, truly indeed, we're a beautiful nation. Diverse as we are a loving country. That is the South Africa I want to see. And I want to say this to you, that to achieve that dream, we have to have policies at our core that in fact speak to the democratic principles that I'm speaking of. We don't, Democrats, exist to scare the ANC into a better behavior. Nor do we exist to remain in perpetual opposition. We have to, Democrats. We are in this because we know that South Africa must be one day governed by our values. Because it's the only way it can be governed. You see, what the ANC stands for, it's in the name, it's in nationalism, nationalist Congress. We're a party for individuals and liberties. And that's how South Africa ought to be governed in our view. That's why we want that change. We want to win power, and we want to be the government of South Africa. And therefore, if we want to do that, we have to remove the ANC and in fact the way they view the world. It is the struggle we are engaged with. But removing the ANC is not an end in itself. It is the beginning of our charter for our values in our mission in South Africa. Amandla. I have a great philosopher who I admire, Dallas Willard, who once said, worry not about the platform you are called to occupy. Worry that you've got something worthwhile to say. Equally so, I want to say this, worry not about the office you hold. Worry more that you've got something worthwhile to do. We have mayors who have high office with great power, but they must use their power to fight the blight of the poor and those left behind. Ngiyahle ngizibuze ngesinye isikhathi ukuthi abantu abe-DA bavuka baxabane ngani. When you get up in the morning, what do you think about? What do you fight for? I worry about the fact that what are the things that actually at our core make us angry? For some of us, it may be a tweet here and there that makes us angry. There are tweets I completely disagree with. But Democrats, if we spend our days fighting about this tweet or that tweet, we lose the fact that too many of our people wake up every day using buckets to go collect waters. There are mothers who are feeding their children water that has been boiled. There are South Africans who can't find work. What makes you angry every day? Because if it's just about tweets, get a different account. But if it is about South Africa, get up every day, put on your DA shirt, and know that until all South Africans are experiencing true freedom, then none of us can experience all the full freedoms that we are guaranteed. You know, I want to tell you something. I was in Nelson Mandela Bay yesterday. I felt the pain. Bengikhuluma nomunye umama who said to me, she told me the story where she put her pots outside. And then when the person came to ask them, Mama, what are you cooking? She said, Mntwanami, I'm just boiling water. Because at least that gives hope to my children that they will maybe find a meal. Abantwana balala belambile, while this woman was just boiling water, saying, at least I can put them to sleep. Banethemba lokuthi bazodla something. You see, that ought to make us more angry, more passionate, to understand that South Africa is a nation where others are living in absolute poverty while the elite are enjoying a life elsewhere. This is not the South Africa we want. Those are the new divisions. And until you and I wake up every day and say, are we fighting for those left behind, then we are missing the objective of what this country and what the DA must be fighting for. And therefore, I remind you again that if you are not obsessed with the fundamental injustice and unfairness in our society, I want to quote our former leader, Tony Leon, who once acerbately put it, the exits to this hall are clearly marked, and I would urge you to use them now. So unless you exist for that, where South Africa can prosper together, we must know that's why we want to win power. We must know it's not power for power's sake, because we can build a better future. No one else can do it, Democrats. This is who we are, and we dare never forget it. Others talk of care for the downtrodden and the excluded, but look at our country today. It's still in some ways fundamentally the same as it's always been. Others enjoy the benefits of freedom, while others, as Chanua Achebe once said, a hungry person cannot claim freedom. Our country is still defined by the chasm between those for whom freedom is real and opportunity is accessible, and those for whom life is largely decided for them by where they are born and what they look like. We are still, Democrats, a nation of insiders and outsiders. And I want to say this, we hear those who claim to really care about freedom, but in fact who do nothing to dismantle the legacy of apartheid education which still imprisons young black South Africans. We hear those who still claim they care about freedom, but when enforce a new kind of job reservation for their friends and those who are politically connected. We hear those who claim to really care about opportunity, but who see only opportunity to plunder and to steal. This is our mission, to build a South Africa where your chances in life are not defined by where you are born or the color of your skin, where education is indeed a liberator that sets you up for life, where everybody who wants work can find a job, where young people can have a sense of hope and a future, where the corrupt are caught and punished, where people can feel safe to walk the streets and let their children play in the park. I affirm today, wherever strand you come from, your sole job is to worry about those who are left behind. That's what I stand for. That's the struggle for a South Africa for all. Amandla. Democrats, during the terrible hopelessness and violence of apartheid, It was us who nurtured the idea that South Africa could be a constitutional democracy, where individual liberty protected by a Bill of Rights, freedom of religion, freedom of speech and press, the security of private property, equality before the law, language rights, all of this has been achieved because of our contribution in nurturing these ideas. But now that the constitutional framework has been established and our party is in government, our values must move from theory to practice. People must see how our values lead to a better life over time and a more accountable government. People expect us to do better. They don't look at the DA anymore and say, you are just another party. They say we have a choice. And they see us as a choice for the future. And that's why whatever we do, we must make sure that we live up to that expectation. I know that even when we fall short or we trip up, we will say so and fix it. More importantly, now that the Constitution protects all people, we must make it our mission to fight for those who are excluded, cut off, and kept up. This is why I get up every day. This is why I'd like you to get up to every day. For the people of Mkanyagude, where 72% of families live in poverty. Omzinyati, where 71.1% live in absolute poverty. Or in Elambe, where 71% of the people live in poverty. Or in Mkungundlovu, where 57.5% live in poverty. It's worse that even right here in eThekwini, where 54.6% of people live in poverty. For the 865,000 little boys and girls in this province who do not attend any early childhood development, putting them behind before they've even started. For the children who attend the 343 schools in this province that do not have electricity, or the 93 that don't even have water. And for more than the 600,000 young boys and girls who start grade 1 each year that will not finish matric. For those young people who wake up with nothing to do and nowhere to go. Those who feel the daily pain of hunger. Those who go to school where teachers don't even arrive to work. For the victims of families in the great tragedy of our, I want to applaud Aaron Motsoaledi, who defined what happened in Life Isitimeni in the way it ought to be defined. He said it was a reminder to him of the dark days of apartheid. The greatest sin that the ANC government has committed is in fact being able to kill all of those patients, more than 100 patients who died in that Life Isitimeni tragedy. We must never forget that, and the ANC government must account for all of those people who they killed in Life Isitimeni. Democrats, it becomes even more difficult when you look at the patients who will die or have already died in this province because of the chronic oncology crisis that should never have been allowed to happen. These are the South Africans we ought to exist and the reasons we get up each day. For them, it makes no difference who the leader of the ANC is. For them, there's no such thing as a New Deal. Because for them, for those South Africans, there's nothing that has changed. And for us, it ought to be a question of saying, how do we bring a radical change, a complete new beginning for them? It's sad especially when the new leader has been sitting all the time, watching all the sins of the old. Ebekhona basho njalo, ebebhekile kwenzakala zonke lezi zinto. Namhlanje bamphathi ngathi yazi ingelosi entsha eqeda ukufika. Sifuna sisho namanje ubuhleli ukhona, ububhekile manje uzositshela ukuthi uzoyenza ushintsho. Ushintsho lubuya kuphi? Ukusapota manje ufuna ukulethela ushintsho. Especially Democrats, we must bring change to the lives in Ugu and Utuge. That does not bring change. That new leadership will not bring change. This is our great cause and this is our opportunity. Those South Africans must look to the DA as the new hope for their lives. They must know that the DA government would give them immediate reason to be optimistic about the future. Not in 10 years, not in 15 years. Yasho leyango khona manje. Now. For them, we must build a party that reflects their hope, their dreams, and their realities. We must present in their lives, we must be present in their lives and their communities. They must be able to look for hope and to look for help. And we better not waste time fighting about a person here or a tweet there. We better focus on what we need to achieve for our country. And therefore, Democrats, whoever is elected to lead you here in KZN, the mission is still the same. We must build a real relationship of trust with those whom freedom and democracy and those who are left behind. I want to say this, Democrats, that we must rise to the challenge of asserting our values in the context of traditional and customary law, which is perhaps the most relevant in this province. One of the most important ways to change the lives of poor rural people immediately is to give them security and knowing that their land cannot be seized or expropriated from them arbitrarily. Deputy President Motlanthe said in his high-level panel report, has identified this is a core reason for rural poverty in South Africa. We are a party that will protect the constitutional guarantee of property rights, even while all around seek to abandon the cornerstone of progress in every society. This is why we must stand up for property rights and rural people living in tribal land. And let them know that the DA government will have security of tenure for land for their families who have lived here and worked on for decades. They will be able to invest and grow their farms and turn productive land into a land of opportunity. This does not mean that traditional leadership must be dismantled, not at all. The Constitution acknowledges that, and therefore if we stand for the Constitution, we stand for that. Nakusasa mangiyobona usilo, I want to say that angilo isilo. Angithi ngiyahlonipha sizofika sikhulume ngoba ngifuna abantu bala ekhaya bayazi ukuthi bazongena phakathi komnotho nabo bayazi ukuthi impilo zabo zizoba ngcono. Amandla. And therefore we must, Democrats, secure the land rights of rural people and ensure those rights are legally enforceable and democratically protected. We must also make sure that the complaints of the people who say they are mistreated and whose rights are infringed are in fact investigated and resolved. Rights must apply equally to everybody. To the powerful and to the powerless, this is our fight. Therefore, fellow Democrats, if we want to build the South Africa we want, it's going to be uncomfortable, it's going to be hard, but we have a lot of work to do. We have a lot of work to do. This, Democrats, is the kind of South Africa we want. I'm most grateful for the opportunity to engage traditional leadership, and will continue to engage on this matter. We must ensure that rights are applicable all across the board for all individuals in this country. And this is the fight that we're engaged with. This is the kind of DA that we want that will get us there. I want to say to you, we must be grounded in our values, confident in our mission, and clear about what we want to achieve. We must be relentless in winning new votes and support us to our side. We must be consistent in building new branches in areas where we are absent. We must continue, and I will fight that this party becomes even more diverse. And therefore, let me say that again. We must be more diverse, reflecting every wonderful facet of our society. In the past, we've been excellent at winning support from minority voters. Now, Democrats, we must be bold and go out support and win support from amongst black South Africans. I hope, Democrats, that every person who calls themselves a DA leader in this room is helping, actively recruiting excellent, young, diverse candidates from all walks of life, so that our lists come to 2019 will become a diverse list of all South Africans, not as an exchange of one race for another, but truly a reflection of the South Africa we want to see. And therefore, Democrats, let us set ourselves the goal of having the most diverse team of candidates ever for election 2019. We are not interested, as I said, in replacing one race for another. Equally so, I'm not interested in quotas. We are not interested in only colored people, or only in white people, or only in black people, or only in Indian people. We are a party, I want to say, of colored South Africans and black South Africans and white South Africans and Indian South Africans, for all the people united in our diversity. The DA is the only party where a Jew can sit in the same table with a Muslim. It's the only party where, in fact, rich can sit with poor. It's the only party where young can sit with old. It's the only party where rural can sit with urban. We are not in the business of either or. We are in the business of together. When others seek to divide, we will seek to unite. When others seek to burn things down, we will build things up. Where others, and where I stand today, I want to say to you that our achievements in the last years are shining examples of what we're capable to do. Democrats, the future is full of risk and danger, but it's equally so filled with opportunity. And therefore, from here, I want to call on you to move out here boldly and confidently to fight for those who are left out and forgotten, armed with our firm principles and with our policies, that we can, together, Democrats, build a South Africa that is prosperous, that is united, a South Africa for all, a South Africa where one day we will govern, a South Africa that will be well governed by the DA. Amorena, Abuluges Chabasayesu, Ngosi Sigeleli Africa, Hot CNC Africa. Let us live and strive for freedom in South Africa, our beautiful land. God bless you. Ndiabulela Mmusi. Amandla! Amandla! Mabesho mabeboni tieyibona. Ebasaywa uvalo ema. Ababoni tieyi. Ebasaywa uvalo ema.
All right, you're watching live proceedings straight from KwaZulu-Natal, where the DA is holding its provincial congress, and party leader there, Mmusi Maimane, on the podium talking to his members, telling them that the DA is the future of South Africa because the DA is a party for all the people of this country. He said the DA will not tolerate racism, saying that members must know that they serve the party and not members within the party. Let's take a quick ad break now. More news in a short while.